My name is Dr. Navin Gordon. I'm a board-certified family medicine physician who has worked in California for 40 years. It's no secret that the Navy contaminated Treasure Island with nuclear radiation for decades. Based on the extent of the radiation contamination already discovered, the entire island must be assumed to be contaminated. The world has long known about the dangers of radiation. Some examples are death and cancer from nuclear bombs exploding in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the mutations and growth defects in babies born to women who were given x-rays when pregnant, the high rate of cancer in nuclear plant workers, the deaths and cancers from nuclear plant explosion in Chernobyl. Radiation, even at very low levels, causes genetic mutations, growth defects, leukemia, and cancers. Radiation is dangerous to life, especially to children and pregnant women who are much more sensitive to radiation damage. Since 1980, the incidence of cancer in children has been increasing at 3% every year in the United States. The Center for Disease Control, CDC, documents a steady rise in childhood leukemia and brain cancer from 1999 through 2010. Our children do not need more radiation in their environments. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists reported that in 2014, Ronald Pilorin, chief of the State Public Health Department's Emergency Restoration and Waste Management section, has escalated his agency's campaign to make the Navy come clean about its radioactive past. Quote, "There has been no credible effort made to gather evidence to determine whether those radioactive materials were present or not. A precautionary approach to our children's health and well-being must be as follows. We must absolutely be certain that the entire island, every square foot, is free of all contamination. The testing must be done by an independent and reputable organization with transparent public results. Until then, no schools for children should be built on Treasure Island." Thank you. My name is Dr. Nayvin Gordon, family physician. I've been working in California for about 40 years.
And you came here to the San Francisco School Board, the Board of Education, to make some comments. What were your concerns that you addressed here?
Well, the primary concern is that if any schools that are to be built, they need to have clarification that the land they're building on is free of any kind of toxins, and specifically in this case, radiation.
And you have a concern that this island, the Treasure Island, should not be used for a school?
Yes, at this point, given what we know, all the evidence that exists shows that it was contaminated for decades, and the evidence hasn't proven to us that it's been thoroughly cleaned.
So you believe that the school board should reject any kind of charter there?
Absolutely, reject any school construction.
And why would they even be considering a charter at Treasure Island?
Well, from what I understand is that charter schools are, free from the scrutiny that is applied to non-charter schools, other public schools, in terms of their construction requirements. That I believe that other public schools, the area has to clear certain contamination guidelines, and charter schools, for some reason, don't have to, which is criminal as far as I'm concerned.
And children, how are they adversely affected, young children, as a result of being contaminated?
Well, radiation, the key thing about radiation to know is everyone knows radiation is dangerous and can cause cancer and other illnesses, but the key thing for children is that children and pregnant women and fetuses are much more susceptible to radiation damage because of their particular biology.
So children are more sensitive because of their bodies?
Yes, much more sensitive. So, yeah, okay. As a result, children will come down with cancers and illnesses on a much lower level of radiation than adults will.
Felita Sample.
So, Felita, you were living in Treasure Island and being affected by the toxins, the radioactive material that was there. What happened to your daughter, and what school was she going to at Treasure Island?
She was going to the Treasure Island, I think the Treasure Island Elementary School. She was about in the first grade. It was her first year there. And when she went to school, the first 2 weeks of school, she got real, like 2 or 3 days, maybe about 2 days after school started, she got real sick and couldn't eat or she couldn't eat, but hardly even. All she did was sleep all day. She couldn't eat, and she was throwing up for like 2 weeks, about 10 or 11, 12 or 13 days.
And did you try to find out what was happening, why this was taking place?
I just thought maybe she had a flu or something like that. So after the 2 weeks was up, she started to feel better. I gave her some Tums, some antacids, and she started eating again. But I didn't know what it was. But I thought maybe she had the flu because she was getting real hot. She was all sweating. She couldn't sleep. She was always hot, burning up hot, and she wouldn't eat anything. And she whatever little, she drank a little water. And then after a while, she couldn't drink water. She started just throwing up.
And what was happening at the school? Was the school aware that this was happening?
Yes, I took her to school because I had called the school because in the first 10 days of school, the first 10 days you get free. You get free. I guess like a free if you don't come, it's free. It don't really count toward your grade and stuff like that. So I went to the school. When I took her to school, I finally got her to feel better, and she went to school. I told the teacher what happened. She said her whole class didn't come. They were all sick at the Treasure Island school.
And was this reported, do you know, to the state or to the school district?
Not that I know of. I was surprised when she said everybody. She said her whole class was sick, and nobody, none of the kids came to school. All of them were sick. It was from they changed it to kindergarten to 5th grade. Everybody, all the kids didn't come to school for 2 weeks. That's what the teacher said. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know not because I didn't go, because my daughter was sick, so I didn't even go near the school or anything.
And what was the name of the school?
I think it's Treasure Island Elementary School. It's a restaurant now over there by the where the games where they play the games are where they play soccer and all that over there by the school, yeah, in the park.
So when did you learn that there was toxins and radioactive material at the school? How did you find out about that?
I found out about it on the channel 7. Was it channel 7? No, channel 2. They said there may be radiation. Residents might be residents may be breathing radiation on Treasure Island. And then after that, we seen a news ABC news story. Came to Treasure Island and parked in front of our house, and they told us about they told us about that there was Treasure Island, and then Andre had did an interview with them, but they had said that they said that people may be getting radiation poisoned. And then right before they did the interviews, they mailed everybody a map about the radiation toxin, and I guess Andre, he's the only one that I knew that could understand what the map was really talking about. He showed me he explained the map to me, and we gave Channel 7 the map. Then after that was in August 12th, 2012. But I had got sick that year too. That's the year I had got sick when I found out what the radiation was out there. I had got sick for 10 days straight, and I went to the hospital, and then I came back, and then another 14 days I didn't eat or drink any water. And then after they said the radiation, then after that interview for the ABC, when ABC Channel 7 came, then after that, and that was in August, in December of 2012, the Don Wadsworth, he came out and told everybody they were getting how much the radiation was out there, and told where the radiation was at, and that's how I found out how sick I was. And where I lived at was right behind the school. And the school and where Don was, 11 to 1 big old court, where radiation is a million times the EPA threshold, safe for human occupancy. I live right there. I live like not even like backyard. Like if your backyard, people have backyards. I live, mine was right there, and then on the other side was the school.
So that whole area was actually toxic and contaminated.
Yes, it was.
And did they make any attempt to clean it up, or what did they do at the school when people were getting sick?
They didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing at all. It's still there. Everything's still there.
What, they moved those bags?
But they moved the bags. But yeah, and
what kind of bags?
They were radiation contaminated bags. They had the Boys and Girls Club because they cut it. They cut one part. It was a Boys and Girls Club at the school too. They had over 200 bags of radiation
soil.
Radioactive soil was stored at the playground. Right on the playground.
Right on the playground where the kids play. Right on the playground. Right there in the Boys and Girls Club, they play all around it. Like, this is the fence, the kids are right here.
Yes.
So they had radioactive bags right on the playground where the kids were playing.
Yes.
And what did they say about that? Did anyone say?
Nobody said anything. Only one was me and Andre called.
we made a move it.
We made a move it. What happened? Where was it?
We called the California Department of Public Health, their toxins and substances division, and we told them it was bags on the playground. They said, "Oh, it's only two 5-gallon buckets of soil."
Yeah.
So we called them, and we were insistent on them coming doing something about it.
Yeah.
And the next day we seen a front loader and 2 dump trucks come and move every one of those bags off. Mm-hmm. And then after that,
Did they ever report that to the families or to the children?
No, because they just moved it. And then after that, they started storing mounds of radiation dirt on top of that. They moved it. It's still out there. It's still out there. Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's still out there.
And what do you think about the fact that the school district now and the Treasure Island Development Government Agency is talking about having a charter school at that elementary school?
I think that they all should be put in jail for this. I truly believe that. I think they're ignoring the fact that human beings are dying. And I don't like the fact that they don't care and they keep putting out there, keeping people out there, and they keep putting kids out there, especially little bitty kids. They don't even know what's going on. So I don't like the fact. I want something to be done about it. I want somebody to pay for this.
And what was the role of London Breed? At one time, she was out at Treasure Island, appointed by Willie Brown. What was her role out there? Did you know about what she was doing out there?
Was she putting
She worked for TIDA.
Oh yeah, she worked for TIDA. She worked for TIDA. I just found that out not too long ago that she worked for TIDA.
So she was actually part of the development group that was planning to develop Treasure Island for condominiums.
She is she's part of it. She's all part of it. So yeah.
And she probably knows about the contamination.
She knows about the contamination because one thing when she was on the board was the board of supervisors and she was a president down there. We had gave her all the information, all Navy documents, and email. We put all the Superfund site. Put the Superfund site ID because we had got in contact with Scott Pruitt and he made it a Superfund site. But we had told her she knew about all of it, everything. She knows about all the toxins, everything the Navy had down there. She knows everything about it. There's arsenic in the water pipes. They have an arsenic plume. She knows. We gave her all that. We gave her all the information. We had all Navy. We had Navy documents that we had got from the Navy, and we forwarded it to her. So she knew.
What did she do? Did she ever contact you or talk to you?
She didn't even contact back or anything else. She didn't do nothing.
So she was aware of the highly toxic radioactive dump site that the school was on.
She was very much aware of it. She's very much aware of it.
In fact, we contacted the group that was doing the remediation of the radiation on the island because they were going to close down the island by taking all the water pipes out. Remember? Mm-hmm. And we said, well, how are the people going to have water if the pipes come out? And they stopped that part of the remediation. Because the pipes are full of arsenic, all of them are full of arsenic.
And they say now that they can develop it. They're involved in a massive expansion. Billions of dollars are going to be spent developing these condos. What do you say to the people of San Francisco and the community that they're building all these thousands of condos on Treasure Island?
They'll never get the radiation out the ground. It's a 16,000-year shelf life. What they're doing is they're selling property out there, like houses and condominiums and hotels, and they're highly contaminated underneath. They'll never get that out, and people are going to die from the same way that we died on Treasure Island. Just because they're in a high-price unit does not mean they're not going to die, because they lied about the whole extent of contamination of radiation on Treasure Island. And the part they said it's clean, it's filthy. It's filthy. We've seen at the front gate, they used to be they had skeet shooting out there right by the marina there. It's got also petroleum sludge in there. They haven't begun to clean that out yet. So how are they going to say that's clean? I don't see how they can say it's clean. Even the hangar part, those buildings out there they're not going to tear down, they're contaminated.
And Gavin Newsom, the governor, is in charge of these government departments. Do you have any hope that the state government is actually going to do a proper job of safety and inspection?
No, they're not, because the California Department of Public Health never informed us there was radiation on Treasure Island. It took was it Channel 7? Channel 7, they came on the TV and said a memo that was slipped to them by a whistleblower that stated the fact of the contamination on Treasure Island. We moved out there. They should have been. They were the last offense for us not getting radiation poisoning. They should have told us each individual person there's radiation on Treasure Island instead of us find out the news media. That's why they're defending the lawsuit.
And Governor Newsom was mayor of San Francisco when these whistleblowers were being fired, who said that there wasn't a proper cleanup at Hunters Point and Treasure Island. What do you think he's culpable that he actually was involved in covering up the poisoning of people in Treasure Island?
He's part of the cover-up. Who knows? These people that allowed this to happen, they must have got paid big money to shut their mouths up because he turned his head away. The whole time, he inherited this mess from Willie Brown, didn't he? And Willie Brown knew there was radiation on Treasure Island, and he didn't care because it was putting black people out there that's low income and mentally disabled. And this is where we run into problems here in America. If you're black and mentally disabled and low income, they said, well, there go your low-income housing, a radiation dump. Either you take that or get the hell out of there. So we have to, I believe Gavin Newsom is going to go to jail for murder and attempted murder because he knew exactly what we were doing when we were on that Treasure Island.
And the Job Corps, a lot of young people wanted to get training. They built housing out there, and many of the people in the Job Corps got sick. And they were not informed that there was radiation while they were working out there. What do you think about that?
Well, I called the Department of Labor. That's who's responsible for the Job Corps, and they gave me the runaround. You wouldn't believe, Steve. They kept saying it's none of my business. I'm not in the Job Corps, and I said, well, I told them, why would you guys put people out there on Treasure Island, known these are at-risk people, and they're low income? And they told me to keep my mouth shut. So I called OSHA, and OSHA sent us some forms for us to fill out, and we filled those out, and we sent them back to them, and they didn't say anything else about it either.
This was California OSHA?
Yes, because they're responsible for any spill of radioactive material or anything toxic. They're responsible for that. So we
for the workers. So you did inform Cal OSHA.
Yes, I did. And also,
what year? Do you remember what year that was?
Was that 2013, 2014? I got a letter back from Cal OSHA where I called them. They were remediating the area on the island and had no hazmat suits on. So I called them and made a complaint, and they went out there and they investigated. And I got a letter back. I have it at home. It said that because they were only measuring the levels of radiation, they didn't need no hazmat suits on. That's what they told me by letter.
So they said basically it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay for them to have that radiation flying everywhere because they don't have hazmat on, so it's not dangerous. But they don't have the hazmat on suits. They wouldn't make all the tenants afraid. That's what the whole thing was. It's keep our level of being afraid down because it was okay because they weren't in hazmat suits. Anyone know you deal with hazmats? You have to have as you get out of the field, you got to have there's about 3 or 4 different stations that you wash yourself down with after you deal with hazardous material.
And this was Governor Brown who was in charge at that time of Cal OSHA.
Yes. I contacted his office too by email, and they told me that they don't send anything back once you put your response in. So I figured that was a way of blowing somebody off.
And Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein, were they aware of what's going on? Yes,
we sent Dianne Feinstein, and we sent Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. We all sent them evidence by email of the contamination. We got nobody sending anything back. We called all the offices, didn't we?
Yes.
In Washington, D.C., and they referred us back to the local office. We called local office, and they put us on hold. They didn't want to address the issue of radiation, period. They didn't want to address it. They were saying that we were being overcautious and why is it our business, And I would say, well, if we don't tell you, then how are you going to know about, the dangers of Treasure Island? Because the people out there are afraid to say something because they lost their place like we lost our place. Mm-hmm. And people nowadays don't want to be homeless. They'd rather be radiation contaminated than to be homeless. So
they put you in an impossible situation. They're putting people in an impossible situation.
They failed to disclose. Because anytime you have someone living on a Superfund site, they have to list every one of the chemicals, and you have to sign off of that I agree to stay on a Superfund site. So it was fraud. It was done mean-spiritedly, and what everybody don't understand, what all the cover-up for is for the San Francisco Roman Catholic Archdiocese. They the one that got the rent money.
And Lennar, the developer that are building the condos, they're going to make a lot of money on the condos.
Yes, they are. That's Nancy Pelosi's husband, and I found out through some research is that he's doing the development out there, but also he got a contract to do all postal property painting.
That was Feinstein's husband.
Oh, okay, Feinstein's husband. Either one of them is crook.
Richard Blum.
Yeah.
They've all got their hands on it. It seems like.
But I have a picture that was taken in 1999 of Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi and Willie Brown signing documents to get Treasure Island, and they were quite aware. That's when she was really young. Both of them were young, and now you can see. I guess through her cover-up, her body's been ravaged. Nancy Pelosi, her body's ravaged because this is definitely on her mind. That she was smiling while Willie Brown was signing documents to put black disabled people on Treasure Island against radiation poison. Because the way they did it, Steve, is they were supposed to had gave us vouchers. And the city of San Francisco had the housing authority. They steered us. When we went out there, we had they already had our housing already selected for us. They already had the zip code selected. They already had the streets we're going to live on. This is the housing authority was involved up to their eyeballs on it because they should have let us get our own vouchers and find a place to stay like I have over there on Blue Avenue. I have a voucher for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I picked my own zip code. I picked my own address.
Did you ever meet Amy Brownell? She's an environmental engineer with the City and County of San Francisco.
Oh, no.
She was paid for by Lennar, actually.
Oh, really? But see, the thing about it is, though, it's that all this cover-up, I'll say it again, it's because the Roman Catholic Archdiocese need some money, so they make sure that all these nonprofits and everybody in the city of San Francisco pointed us towards Treasure Island. Otherwise, we would have never chose that island. The island is a sponsor-based program. And we didn't. A sponsor-based program, you have to decide to be in that program, to be a sponsor-based program, because they have 4 different programs. They have a PHA, which is Public Housing Authority. They got SROs for hotel. And they got sponsor-based program with on Treasure Island, and they have tenant-based rental assistance program, which I have right now, Hut Bash, where I get you find your own place to stay, and not be steered out there to make sure we got radiation poison so the Archdiocese can get paid.
And Jon Stewart, what is his role?
Jon Stewart, he runs the part of the Public Housing Authority. So if
That's the privatized public housing authority.
Yeah, exactly what it is. Instead of you finding a place in the projects, they use Treasure Island. And most of his tenants out there are PHAs, aren't they? Yes.
So is this racism in your view?
Yes, it is. It's racism, and also it's discriminatory for our disabilities because we're mentally disabled. And so they about figured, that we have enough sense, to figure out that we're being duped. And we got duped because of the fact is that there's radiation out there. And they should have gave us the opportunity to say yes or no, we don't want that place. They told us, take the unit or you'll get no housing. I've been on the list 5 years. Of course we're going to take that housing.
So this was kind of blackmail.
Yeah, it was.
It was like it's either take this or no housing.
No housing at all. And we signed our lease. They had to sign off on lead. We had to sign off on that. So if they sign off for lead, they should have had everything, all the things in the ground, and we'll sign up on that also. So that's what you call fraud. If they disclose. Because they did told me there was radiation out there. I wouldn't have took my unit. I don't give a damn. I was staying in a hotel room 6 years. So I was fine there. But they called me off the list. I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to find me an apartment. They said, you can't find an apartment. You're going to take this place on Treasure Island. You get no housing long. I said, well, what the hell? I'll take it. It's 2-bedroom apartment. Yeah, I'll take it. I was in a hotel room. And so that's how most people that were that's out there a while about there, because also they went to these.
They were sold a bill of goods.
Yes, but they went to the women's shelters. This is the cold part. They went to the women's shelters and offered them vouchers to them. And most of the women out there, they had CPS cases, and their children were taken from them. And so by getting in this program, they got their children back. That's how they got duped out there.
And the children there were stories about the effect of this radioactive material and contamination of the children who go to the schools. The schools were out of control. Did you hear about that?
Yes, they were out of control. They used to call my house all the time, telling me to come pick my daughter. My daughter is a well-mannered daughter, but all the kids in the school, they were all just real mean and real hyped up all the time and stuff like that. And you could tell something was wrong with the kids. They had a real hard time with them kids.
Yeah.
Even when when the kids came from Offater Dryden, because it was kindergarten through the 8th grade, and all those kids were some terrible kids. A police officer was there every day.
Every day, yeah.
Every day.
And a teacher was attacked. I mean, the toxins were affecting the psychology and the whole health of these students, and they were aware of that. Do you think they ever reported that to the school district?
I know they did.
I know they didn't do it. I know they didn't do it.
So this was going on with the students, and they were keeping that quiet.
They were keeping it quiet.
In 2005, the school was getting ready to close, remember?
Yeah.
And they had over 300 students from San Francisco bused over to Treasure Island. And this is where people didn't understand the Unified School District was responsible for their children getting radiation poisoning just to fill that school up.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
They came way from across town, all different districts, and they were forced to have their kids go out there.
So they were contaminating the children of
Yes,
San
they were.
Francisco. And Mark Sanchez was on the Board of Education at that time. He's now the new president of the Board of Education. What do you have to say to Mark Sanchez?
I think he's an asshole, because he should have, he should have never put anybody out there. It had to be over a big amount of money. It had to be to expose all those children, even the ones that didn't live there. They had them bussed in order for them to go to school, and they were made to go to school there. And this is what I'm saying, they had no choice. They ever have a choice here in America, you could have said, I don't want my child to go out to Treasure Island, but they had to fill that school up to get that damn money from the Unified School District.
Yeah.
So it was all about money. And the parents were complaining about sending their children off the island to go to school. So to keep the parents happy and keep them wanting to move, they brought other kids out to fill the school up.